Are you swimming in a sea of multiple web design tools and you don't know where to start? Well, on this video, I'm going to take you through the best website platforms that you can use this year and going forward, and what to look out for when it comes on to building your website. So let's get straight to the point. Hi everyone, my name is Laith Wallace and welcome to Wallace TV, and on this channel I share advice, tools and motivation to help you become a better designer. And more specifically in this video, I want to help you know what website platforms to use and how to know which platforms to use. So let's get started. So the first platform I want to look out for is Wix. So let's go deeper into it. So here you can see I've kind of outlined some key pros and cons and pricing structures of this. But when it comes onto Wix, this is a really incredible platform simply because of the fact that there's so much you can do, and it has two kind of layers to it. One gets geared for small businesses and another one that's geared more at the enterprise level. Wix also gives you a suite of app market tools that allow you to basically be able to find applications that you can add onto your website to help you level it up and make it even better. They also, on the SEO side, have an SEO learning hub, and sometimes this can be very tricky to help your site rank on Google, but they have a hub that goes deep into the strategies, the techniques. They've got webinars and different tools and options that you can use when it comes on to basically creating SEO focused or SEO optimized websites using the Wix platform. On top of that, they have the ability to create invoices. I think that this is quite a clever piece that you can add inside of it. So you can create invoices inside of Wix, especially for those that are freelancers, especially for those that have their own businesses and they want to be able to do something like this. You might even be able to get rid of some other tool that you're using and be able to leverage Wix's platform and save you some money as well. Another thing that I found quite interesting, I don't really need this tool because I know how to use Adobe quite well, but like they have this internal video editor that was quite clever. And this can be very helpful if you just have something quickly you want to add on your site. You don't want to export it, but you might want to have it inside of Wix and make some changes. That's an internal video editor. They also have a professional email marketing tool. So this allows you to create marketing campaigns. It's super helpful for you because you can build out all of the design of your email builders yourself. So instead of using MailChimp or anything like that, you can do it all here inside of Wix, which is quite clever. And they've got really nice templates as well. Like back in the day, Wix used to be known as the design platform that didn't have the best designs, but they've recruited some really good designers, and you can tell in the aesthetics of their work that it's really improved on the Wix side as well. Hey, you, yes, you, just remember, please give me a like, give me a thumbs up, and just let me know that you've appreciated this video as well by subscribing to my channel. I appreciate it so much. Thank you. Now let's get on with the video. And for those that are super nerdy and want to get into the data, they have their own analytics dashboard that gives you all traffic data, locations, where they're coming from, unique visitors, speed, site speed, etc. So that data is super helpful for you as well. One thing that I found quite interesting when I was playing around with the platform is that they have an AI that allows you to be able to build out websites, and it goes through kind of like a chat-based interface, and they have this chat-based interface that helps you to build out your own websites. So this is super clever, but it's still early days. But as they mature and as they grow, this definitely will become something super helpful. But for those who don't have a designer, you don't have web knowledge, Wix has got a super helpful chat that allows you to just go through step by step and create something that gives you a really good basis to build from as well. But when you look at their pricing, you can see from the light plan all the way to the business elite plan how their pricing is structured, from £7.50 all the way up to £119. They've got some good pricing, but at this kind of free/light level, you don't really want to be using Wix at this level. You're going to need the core, if not the business features, for most people that are creating businesses using this platform. So I would advise to potentially go for the business plan at £20 a month. It's not too expensive. And Wix also has its own internal hosting as well. So you can find your websites and host your websites inside of Wix, which is a nice little add-on, similar to Squarespace. A lot of web builders, like the big boys like Framer, and not big boy like Framer, but because big boys like Webflow don't really allow you to do this, but you can do this here inside of Wix, which is super helpful. Now, what Wix have also done is they've realized that Wix.com, or their main Wix platform, is really over the years been geared so heavily to the small designer or the small business that if you do want to level up at the enterprise level and you want more ability to be able to create more amazing animations, then they've built out this tool called Editor X, which is still the Wix platform, but geared at the more advanced designer. So if you ever wanted to actually create more high level animations, then you can play around with the Wix Editor X tool, and you can see that you can create some really great designs using the Editor X tool. So this website kind of showcases the power of what you can do, but you can do so much more inside of the tool, create custom code, etc. And this is a really good tool for you to use. So definitely play around with Editor X. I've been playing around with it recently, found it really good to use. It's quite impressive what they've been able to build compared to where Wix used to be. But you can see how they've had to split out the two just to make it clearer in the minds of the customer that Editor X is for the more high-end, more capable designer as well. All right. So the actual disadvantages of Wix really comes down to a few things. Even though it's very affordable, it can be free. The free plan is not worth it. So don't even worry about that. I shouldn't even put this disadvantage very affordable. That's actually not really true. It's more the fact that the free plan is not really worth it. That's what I'm trying to say. Not really for enterprise unless you go to the Editor X plan, which allows you to be able to build out something more custom and go even further. And it's good for small businesses, but it's really targeted just at small businesses. So if you're trying to build something more long-term, it might not be the best platform for you to start with, because to move away from Wix can be quite tricky and quite challenging as well. Let's go into our next platform. This is Squarespace. Now, about 7 years ago, I used to use Squarespace a lot when I used to do websites alongside WordPress, and I want to talk about those two. But specifically with Squarespace, I stopped using Squarespace mainly because of how their builder was designed. But one thing I did love about Squarespace is that Squarespace really had not only just limited integration with these third-party tools. So what I didn't like, is that they had limited integration with third-party apps that I was using at the time, but the pricing can really add up. And when you're in the Squarespace ecosystem, you're kind of locked in. So let's say, and because they don't really scale super well to be able to build out for enterprise level, or like even like some really robust small to medium-sized businesses, Squarespace I've found personally has not been the best tool. Even though they have e-commerce tools, their e-commerce tools don't compare to Shopify. So if you are going down the route of building out an e-commerce platform, I wouldn't even consider Squarespace. Squarespace is very good at like the small to medium-sized business. You're trying to build a brochure type marketing type website. That's where I find Squarespace really good. If you don't really have the design prowess and you don't really know how to design sites, Squarespace have some of the best designed templates out there on the market. But because of their code and how custom it can be, you can get quite locked in and can be quite confusing to make custom changes on your site. So it's not really built for the customization as much, but it can be a very powerful tool if you want to get something up quickly. Once you get used to the builder, it's quite straightforward to use, but the builder can be a bit tricky just to get right when you want to put sections in place and stuff like that. But Squarespace is still a good platform. The next thing I want to talk about is WordPress. Now, when it comes onto WordPress, let me take off all of these, right? When it comes onto WordPress, one of the key things to highlight with WordPress is like ideal for all types of websites. It's got a large community and plugin ecosystem. You can set up really quickly with WordPress, which is very, very good. And if you use platforms like Elementor, which is here, which is a web builder that you put on top of your WordPress website, your ability to build is super quick. WordPress is Elementor. This Elementor tool is really intuitive on top of WordPress to allow you to be able to build out sites super quick. So this is what I liked a lot when I used to use WordPress before. Also, there's a smaller learning curve with WordPress because there's so many videos online. So if you was to type in on YouTube, like WordPress build, right, which is quite interesting, like WordPress build, right? And you was like, or WordPress website design, like you can go in step by step, and there'll be so many people out here talking about WordPress and how to build websites for WordPress. Plus it's open source, so if you do want to create your own custom plugins or anything like that, WordPress is fantastic for that. So when it comes on to building out WordPress sites, there's some key disadvantages to highlight. One is like the maintenance and security efforts needed if you start to add plugins. And most of the time when you're building out WordPress websites, you need to add a combination of plugins over time to really get your website to function with some customized ways that you need. Out of the box, it doesn't give you everything, so that's what plugins are for. But because there's such a wide range of plugins, to know what plugins are good and what plugins are bad, that's why sometimes it's good to have an experienced developer to work with you, because of the security concerns with WordPress as well, because it's open source. The UI of WordPress in comparison to tools like WordPress in comparison to tools like Squarespace or Wix, it's like completely night and day. WordPress is like 20 years old, 40% of the internet is powered by WordPress. So WordPress does look outdated and is in need of a UI refresh. So it's hard if you're with a customer that's already on Wix and you're trying to move them to WordPress, it's really hard to justify that move, especially for small to medium-sized businesses. So I would almost say if someone's on Wix and someone's coming to them and say, hey, I want to build your WordPress website, I'd literally say, no, don't do it. Stay on Wix and just build with Wix even more. Yes, and because a higher range of websites on the internet use WordPress, it's fantastic for SEO using plugins like Rank Math or Yoast SEO. But because of the range of how WordPress sites look, it's hurt the reputation on the quality of what you can build with WordPress. So in the minds of some people, they feel that WordPress is not an advanced design tool, although you can do most, if not most, design tasks can be completed on a WordPress website using the WordPress platform and additions like Elementor, etc. It can be a bit overkill for basic projects, so you can bootstrap using HTML, CSS, and Java if you know what you're doing as a developer. But for those who don't know what they're doing and they're starting from scratch, or they're building, or they're trying to refresh a website, personally, I don't use WordPress anymore. But at this moment, it's really because of the security concerns that I've had and I've struggled with before in the past. The plugin ecosystem to know what's not the best to use or not, because I'm not a developer. I understand CSS, HTML, and a little bit of Java, but fundamentally, I've now moved onto another platform, which I'll speak to you about soon. And because of the plugin concerns, I felt like, nah, let me not really use WordPress anymore and now use Webflow, and I'll talk to you about that soon. The key thing I want to talk about now is WordPress pricing. So from its free plan, starter plan at £3, Explorer plan £7 a month, Creator plan £20 a month, Entrepreneur £36. This is kind of a range of pricing, and then obviously Enterprise at 25 grand, and definitely going to be way more than that. The key thing I want you to understand here is that WordPress, unlike Wix and Squarespace, does not come with internal hosting and inside of it. So hosting you're going to have to buy somewhere else, like at Namecheap or SiteGround or Squarespace domains, wherever you buy your domain name from. But it can be a CMS that you can use for WordPress, but you're going to have to buy your hosting somewhere else. Whereas Wix and Squarespace, you can actually get your hosting inside of those platforms, which is quite good. Next, I want to move on to Shopify. Shopify is a great platform, especially if you're trying to build an e-commerce website. Unlike the ones I spoke about previously, which is mainly for like marketing websites, brochure websites, content specific, like blog-based content, that's really where they dominate and are strongest. Squarespace is personally, I believe, the best e-commerce platform on the market right now because of just the robust ecosystem around them. If you have an internal store, it has like point of sale equipment that you can use as well. So it's very, very good. And Shopify can also scale with you as well. It's easy to use and set up, scalable for a growing business, payment processors, point of sale applications that you can use, has an abundance of apps and integrations that you can add to it, multiple themes that can be used as well, amazing customer support. I think it's 24/7. You can sell both digital and physical products on Shopify platform, and the SEO and the marketing, once you get your head into it and you understand it, is really good on the SEO on the Shopify platform as well. But it does come with its disadvantages, such as high transaction fees. Once you start to generate a certain number of fees, you can really start to see these transaction fees mounting up. to get really good themes, because it's built on its own dev environment called Liquid, which is its own custom framework that it uses on Shopify. The themes can be quite expensive because you need engineers who are Liquid trained to be able to build these out. Limited customization for non-e-commerce. Aspects of the website builder tools can be quite challenging or tricky to use. So it has a kind of steeper learning curve, so you have to get your head into it. And also when it comes onto pricing, you got to make sure that you calculate your pricing before you get locked into the Shopify ecosystem, because it's difficult to leave as well. Content marketing can be quite difficult because out of the box, it's not easy just to get your blog running if you're trying to create like the blog part of your Shopify sites. So if you're using templates, make sure your template has a blog connected to it that is quite robust, so it's quite straightforward for you to use. You have to remember this Shopify platform is really built around transactions, around payments. It's really great like that. And it doesn't have email hosting either. So you have to use a third-party tool to connect with Shopify like MailChimp to be able to run your email marketing on top of it. I've seen and worked on platforms where they've used tools like Klaviyo and MailChimp to be able to run the email marketing connected with Shopify as well. So Shopify has its pros and it has its disadvantages, but the pricing from the basic plan at £19 and then Shopify plan 49. Most businesses, if you're small to medium size, £49 is good enough. And for those who are at that like much bigger level, the advanced and then the enterprise or the Shopify Plus plan is really good for you to be able to build out a solid system as well. So brands like Hunter and many others use Shopify and they're got hundreds of thousands of transactions using the Shopify platform. The next site I want to speak about is Framer. Now, Framer is like what we call the new kid on the block in regards to the design world. Many designers are really into using Framer. You can create interactive prototypes, high fidelity designs. You can collaborate super easy, pushes the boundaries of the design. User interaction is super simple and intuitive. And your ability to create small landing pages inside of Framer is really good. Framer is fantastic to allow you to be able to create sites super easy. You can basically copy straight from Figma into Framer. So here's some kind of quick wireframes I dropped in just for today to kind of show you what I'm working on, where you can just drop wireframes straight inside of Figma. You can just double click and then you can be in here to be able to edit and make changes super fast as well. It's just really intuitive, especially if you're trying to build out small, simple landing pages and you want to make edits and changes super fast, not just like you're in Figma, but it feels closer to Figma. It feels like something that as a designer you're used to using. So the transition between a tool like Framer and Figma is quite seamless, and there is a learning curve, but the learning curve is not as steep as Webflow. So these are the real benefits of using a tool like Framer. You want to build something quickly, maybe 1 to 5 pages, especially for designers building out a portfolio. The pricing is not as much as Webflow. The learning curve is not as steep as Webflow. So it's great to use a tool like Framer, but it's not really not suitable for non-designers or developers. It's really built around the designer for the designer. But even if you're not a designer, of course you can use Framer, but your learning curve is a bit steeper. The amount of users on the platform, just you have to be careful if you need multiple people using Framer, how that works for you. Also, it's cheaper to launch using Framer, which is really good. And it's also faster to maintain for you as well. But it's not so good, even though they do have enterprise plans. When it comes into building out more than 5 pages, real robust websites, personally, as the information I have so far, Framer is definitely doing the work to better their platform and get it there. But at the moment, this is why I will use a tool like Webflow. So Webflow is, for me personally, the tool of choice that I use. So I'm going to be honest here, I am a bit biased, but I'm not going to be biased to the point where I can't speak of the negatives of using a platform like Webflow as well. I've been using Webflow for about a good 5 years now, but even though I've been using it for 5 years, I've got to be honest with you, the learning curve for Webflow is a nightmare initially, if you're not careful. Luckily, what Webflow have done, and I'm talking 5 years ago, is Webflow have now built out Webflow University, right? And the Webflow University is amazing. So where the learning curve previously was really difficult with Webflow, I'm not saying there's not difficulty, of course, there definitely is difficulty. But because they've built out the Webflow University, you can follow these tracks or these pathways. And once you go through these pathways step by step, you give it a couple hours. By the time you've gone through these learning pathways, you'll actually understand how Webflow works. Now, especially if you're a developer who has some understanding of CSS and HTML, then Webflow becomes even more easier for you to use. So I personally use Webflow. I build it, I use it for my personal projects, I use it for client projects, I use it for work, I use it for so much different things. I use Webflow for most of all of the sites I build inside of Webflow because it's amazing for scale, but it's not the best for e-commerce websites. I'm just gonna throw that one out there. That's why I mentioned Shopify previously, but e-commerce is fantastic. If you understand the box method inside of CSS and you're trying to build out websites, Webflow is fantastic to help you build out sites. So this is a site that I built for an agency. This is amazing to help you understand how it can work to be able to build out sites super quickly using Webflow. And this is one of the best platforms that I've seen on the market right now to be able to build out sites and give you the scale, the flexibility and customization to be able to use. They also have a really robust CMS. So for those who are heavy on content marketing, it's super good as well. When you're building on-page SEO inside of Webflow, it's quite straightforward. You just use this on-page SEO settings to build out page descriptions, page titles, descriptions. You can say whether you want something findable on Google or excluded from search results. You can embed custom code into the head and inject it super quickly. But the challenge with Webflow comes really down to its pricing. And this has been one of the #1 pain points that a lot of designers have highlighted with Webflow. Now, Webflow's pricing is not as competitive as a Framer. That's because they're very different. Where Framer is kind of quick, simple, fast landing pages, Webflow is a more robust web development tool that is used to be able to scale with you. And now also with Webflow, once you've built out the website, it has an edit function where someone who is a non-designer can quickly go in and change text, change images, and move quite quickly on the Webflow platform. So yes, there is a learning curve. It is a little bit more pricey, but the flexibility, the CMS ability, the ability to build content-rich sites is super good inside of Webflow. And recently, they've launched localization where you can customize your assets and the text and translations per territory that you're gonna actually create as well. Now, the only thing to be mindful of is for Webflow is that if you're building out a Webflow site and you happen to be an agency and you need multiple sites inside of your Webflow platform, then Webflow has a separate cost for agency pricing. So just be careful if you are trying to build out an agency or you have multiple sites inside of your Webflow build, then there's going to be a certain number of sites for different agency plans. So just be mindful of that pricing. So you have a pricing to host your website inside of Webflow as a CMS, but the hosting for your website is not done intuitively inside of Webflow. You're going to have to go somewhere else to buy your domain name, connect it to Webflow, but as a CMS, Webflow is one of the better CMSs that I use. So I hope this makes sense. I've tried to be as in-depth as I possibly can, talking about the learning curve, the pricing, the features. They do take time to learn, but once you go through the university for Webflow, once you get it in, you will be able to become a expert at this as well. So the question of the day is, which website builder is right for you? Which website builder is right for you? Just go to the comment section below and write in the comments. And if you have any other questions, just let me know in the comments below and I'll be happy to walk through this with you. And if you also want the spreadsheet that I've created that has basically broken down the pros, the cons, and the pricing for each of these platforms, just go to the description box below, click on the link, and you'll be able to download your own copy of that spreadsheet for yourself as well. So I want to thank you so much for watching this video. Please take the time out to give me a like and a thumbs up. And remember to take care of yourself and take care of your families. Goodbye.